CSS Pseudo Class, a commonly used technique for creating illusions of style. So, for example, we have this enter text input box which I have created, and this div which I'm forced to look like a button right now. I can give it a specific functionality in terms of visual effects by using pseudo classes. Pseudo classes, in the name itself, suggests that these classes don't actually exist, are not defined as such, but these classes are conditionally available. So, for example, when you have clicked on a particular item, or let's say you are hovering the mouse over this div, you want to change the color of it. Now, I've created this div which has a class BTN, and there's some text written inside it which says custom button, and I've created this style which indicates what should be the padding, the border radius, and how it should be displayed, etc., etc. I'm now going to give it a pseudo class. Now the simple way of defining a pseudo class is, first of all, you define the selector, which could be a simple tag selector or a class selector or an attribute selector. I've used a class selector over here, .btn. Then we provide a single colon. And right after the single colon, you have to provide the pseudo class. Now there is a list of pseudo classes that are available in HTML CSS. So the one I'm going to use over here is known as hover, which means that when there is a mouse hover happening on this particular button, it will behave in a particular way. So I'm going to invert its color to background color as navy, and its foreground color, that is the color of its font, to aqua, which is the exact inversion of the style defined for the button. So when I move my mouse over this, you see it changes automatically. There is no JavaScript applied over here, nothing. It is simple, plain CSS. And you can do that using several other techniques. You can also have other pseudo classes such as, focus element, for example. Now, let's say we have this input text box, and I want to set a different color setting to it when it is clicked upon. So when a HTML element is clicked in, let's say an input element, it's called focus. That is, you have focused on that element. That's what it means for the browser. It's an event called focus. So what I can do, I can declare a style and I can define a pseudo class. So instead of hover, I can have focus. So whenever this would be focused upon, the background color changes, and so the foreground color. When it is not focused in, it changes back to normal. That is how you can apply pseudo classes to simple elements like this. Similarly, let's say I want to define a UL class, which is an um unordered list, and I'm going to add some items in it. Let's say it is a list item, which is milk, coffee, curd, and ice cream, right? What if I want only one of these items to be styled in a particular way and the others in a different way? So let's say I have list items, and list item styling, I'm giving a background color to it, and let's give it a simple background color of yellow green. Okay. And you see these are having same background color to each one of them. Let's also give it a padding of, let's say, 5 pixels, which makes it more desirable to look at. Now, I'm going to set a style which is going to be specific to the first li that occurs over here. So in that case, I am going to choose li first. What happens over here when I choose li first, I can set a style which is different to the others. So when you apply the first child property to the pseudo class, which is basically the first child that is found with the selector as li. In this case, the selector is basically the tag name li. This is how you can apply the same. Similarly, you can also use the last child. So last child can also be applied over here. I can use combinators also if I have to apply the same style for both. So let's say I have last child and first child. That is last child, comma, first child, li, last child, first child is going to have the same style, but I don't need to have this. Yet the style works. But however, I want to use a different style over here. I'm going to give it a different background color, which would be, let's say, black lemon, which is quite similar to the background color of the page. So let's try a different one. Yes. This is how you can set different background colors or different style settings for every child element that matches. So Now, similar to the first child and last child property, we also have a pseudo clause known as nth child. So let's say I use the nth child property and I provide a number inside of it. The nth child property is basically to specify a fixed number that occurs. So I use 2 as an input over here. This looks like a function in any language, but this is how you define it in CSS. And I want the background color for that to be, let's say, tomato. And when I choose 2, it has automatically assigned it to the second child in the list. Now, let's say I don't apply the first and last child. We only see that style being applied to the second one. If I choose 3, it's going to go to the third one. So this is how you can apply styles to specific elements in the list of children in a particular element. Also, you can use n plus 1. What n plus 1 does is it is going to pick every one of them. When n plus 2 is going to pick every other after from the second one. Plus 3 is going to pick it from the third one. This is how the nth child property works. There are several pseudo classes that you can look up on. You can check out the World Wide Web or the website and find out more about these styles. Or you can look at the attached sheet that I have in this course where all sorts of pseudo classes have been listed and you can try them out yourself.